Hello, all you beautiful people. I am optimistically depressed, and I'm very happy to be sitting here in my closet with Spencer McIver. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to be in the closet.
I know.
I like the closet.
The closet's great. Yeah. I thought that, the podcasts needed to get a little bit more interesting. So what would do that better than to hang out in the closet for it?
Did you say interesting or intimate?
I think maybe I used the wrong word there.
Maybe.
It must be... Spencer, just to give everybody else a little bit of context there, when Spencer said maybe, he looked up at the silk robe that is beside him. He's sitting between robes and bathing suits. So, yeah, it's a good day.
It's a very good day.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be on the podcast.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. When you expressed interest in being on the podcast, I was like, I'm going to lock this down. This has to happen now. And I actually also want to say that I'm very excited about the fact that Optimistically Depressed is now brought to you by Simple Rituals Skincare. Yeah.
It's sponsored now.
Yeah!
That's awesome.
I know! I'm so excited. And it's really cool that it's actually sponsored by a product that I use and really love.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it?
So it's skincare, mostly face, although she does have a lotion. So my friend Angela, she owns it and makes the stuff.
Okay.
And she has a lotion that you can use like on your body as well. And I actually use it in my hair.
That's different.
Yep, I put it in my hair and the night before I'm going to have a shower, and so it soaks in all the nutrients, and then I wash it out the next morning, and oh my goodness, my hair has been so much softer since I've started using
Soft
it.
hair?
I have soft hair. You want to?
Yeah. I mean, we're
sitting in a closet
we're
already,
close enough now that we can touch each other's hair.
Touch each other's hair.
That is soft.
Thank you very much.
Very soft.
Yeah, and she also has a facial cleanser, a mask, a mist, moisturizer, facial moisturizer, and body moisturizer.
Okay.
She has a lip balm. I use them all.
At the same time?
I just like pour them all out on my counter and just put my face on it and wipe it all around. It's amazing.
Nice. I think that's the proper application.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Anyway, so I want to say that I'm excited about it because it's actually a good product.
No, definitely. I mean, to be sponsored by something that you're actually using, I think is the most important part.
Right?
Out of anything. I mean, people will promote sponsorship from companies that they've never even seen before, that they've never used before. And I think it's good to have a company that you actually stand behind as a sponsor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I totally agree. It's really cool. Spencer.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
tired, but I'm good.
Yeah, you're tired.
Very.
And so why are you tired?
I overwork myself every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
All the time.
Why do you do that?
I'm in love with money. If I could make sexual relations to money, I would.
You would do that.
Yeah.
That's some intense love.
Yeah, I wanna be Scrooge McDuck, just diving into piles of gold.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I want to have golden showers in the sense that people just pour buckets of gold onto me. I want to pay people to dump my own money on me is what I want. That's what I'm aiming for.
That's what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
When that happens, because I believe that you're the type of person that's going to make things happen, can I please be there?
I can pay you.
You'll pay me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'll pay you and Sean to dump money on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to this.
You get to keep whatever sticks to my body. So use whatever method you want, but you get to keep whatever sticks to my body.
Whatever sticks to your body?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to lick each bill and then just...
Okay, not what I thought you were going to say. But definitely better than the first outcome that came to mind.
That is excellent. See, I'm always throwing curveballs, curveballs and surprises. So where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Dartmouth. I've lived in the same house for the past 21 years.
No way.
Yeah, I'm only 21, so it's my whole life. It's everything.
That's your whole life. Everything.
The start to end was in that house, except for the birth, of course. It wasn't. It was in a hospital.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Well, you
So
never know.
technically, I guess I was born in Halifax.
You were born in Halifax.
Yeah.
But then you scooched on over to Dartmouth and stayed there ever since.
Yeah, I was shipped by freight to Dartmouth.
Shipped by freight?
I've grown up there, lived there. Yeah.
Okay. And so are you planning on sticking around Halifax for a while?
I love Halifax. And I haven't lived many places. I've lived here and I lived Quebec. And between here and Quebec, Nova Scotia's great. I love Nova Scotia. Not to say that I dislike Quebec in its entirety, but where I lived in Quebec and the situation that I was in Quebec,
Right.
Definitely turned me off to the whole situation.
Okay.
But no, I love Dartmouth and I love Halifax, and I think it's definitely a thriving city.
Yeah.
I think especially with the people that I've met through the Halifax Social Network and the people that I've met through school and through the work I do, and I think in terms of being a student moving into the business field with so many small businesses like thriving into what most would consider to be a large business, I think it's the perfect city to start in, for sure.
Awesome. So what was this experience back in Quebec?
In Quebec,
Yeah,
that was a good experience.
I want to hear about this experience.
Yeah, I hope you guys can catch my sarcasm because there's going to be a lot of it. I was in the military for a very short stint. I try not to tell people I was in the military because I don't, by my standards of being in the military, there would be some involvement of having served.
Right.
Which
Okay.
I guess technically I hadn't. I was still in my training when I left.
Okay.
So I was enrolled in the military. I started my enrollment process when I was 17. So I was in my final year of high school. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I had some family members that had done the military service. So I thought, you know what? There's a great program called the Regular Officer Training Program. They pay for your schooling. And the guide spoke, I have to give some preface to all of this. I worked at Tommy Hilfiger for a long time, retail store. They were a great employer, but don't ever work in retail.
Okay.
It's awful.
Okay.
But one of the guys I worked with was also an officer in the Navy. And so I'd known this guy for a long time. And he had given me all this awesome advice about the military and how, they'll pay for your schooling and they'll do this and they'll do that. And it seemed so optimistic. It was, the perfect thing that you could ever do. And so I was
I
like,
threw that in there.
yeah,
Just
bad pun.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
liked it.
so I decided to do the enrollment process and see what the outcome would be. And so I started the enrollment when I was 17. It was probably August of 2014 would have been the year that I started.
Okay.
The enrollment process finished in April or May of 2015. It's a fairly long process. There's some testing that you have to go through, interviews, medical test, physical test, eyesight, hearing, the whole 9 yards. And so I did all of that, and I hadn't heard back from them, and I was about a month away from graduation from high school. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out something else. So I applied to Dalhousie in the engineering program, and I got my acceptance for them. And they offered me a whopping $500 for my 97% average in high school.
What?
Yeah, so that was amazing. I was so excited to go to Dalhousie. Cue the sarcasm, yeah. Finally, probably 2 or 3 weeks away from graduation, I get a call while I'm at school. And he identifies himself as the recruiting officer that I had spoken to from the military. And he said, hey, we'd like to offer you a position. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. One thing about the military is you get a choice, but you don't get that much choice. So they ask you to pick your top 3 positions in the military that you would like to work for, and they'll give you one of them. It could be your last choice, but that might be the one that you'll get. And if you say no, that's it. You're not in the military.
Okay.
And so I had requested to be either an aerospace engineer, an electrical mechanical engineer, or a combat engineer. Combat engineer was my third choice. So one of those is Air Force, 2 of those are Army trades. And they called me and they said, hey, we'd like to offer you a job as a combat engineer. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, we'll do it. That sounds like fun. Um, I'm game. My family knows that I want to join the military. My grandfather, who served in the military, was super excited about it.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna join the military. And one of the tough aspects of this is my grandmother at the time, her husband, who's my grandfather, was military for 34 years. And I told her, you know, I want to join the military. And this was after she was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
And so I told her, you know, hey, I want to join the military. I want to do this. And she was on board, and you know, she respected that choice. And she ended up passing away before I was actually accepted into the military. So that was sort of my way of saying, you know what, I followed through with it.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to go and do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated June 27th, 2015 from high school. And I immediately got on a plane the morning of the 28th and flew off to Saint Jean, Quebec to do my basic training.
Okay.
So my basic training was split in half. So it was about 7 weeks of basic training, followed by being shipped over to the college that was also in Saint Jean and doing my training there and my schooling paid for by the military. So I was going to be getting an engineering degree through the military and have a career afterwards as a combat engineer. And I was like, you know what, this sounds amazing. I'm totally on board. I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up doing it. I spent my 6 weeks or 7 weeks in Saint Jean at my basic training. And then I was shipped over to the college, and that's sort of when things started to go downhill.
Okay.
I loved the military. I thought it was amazing. You know, the camaraderie, the leadership skills that I was gaining. I think it developed me as a person. I definitely gained more respect in understanding, you know, the roles of chain of command and the roles as, you know, sort of where you stand in life as a person. And it really put into perspective, you know, their goal is to break you. They're going to break you down and they're going to rebuild you. And it sort of made me understand, you know, that I'm not the best person around. You know, going through high school, I had fairly good averages and I was a fairly good athlete. And I think I had this understanding, a misunderstanding, I should say, of where I stood.
Okay.
And that definitely gave me some perspective. But after going to the military college, things sort of took a turn for me. And if anyone has heard about the military colleges, it's probably not a good thing that you've heard because the only newsletters that come out of the college are bad ones.
Okay.
So between August when I arrived at the college and December when I left the college, 4 kids unfortunately committed suicide.
Wow.
Yeah, so these were 4 kids that I had just gone through basic training with.
Okay.
Or 3 out of the 4 I'd gone through basic training with, but I'd known them fairly personally and spent a fair amount of time with them. And so I knew who they were. And that took a big toll on a lot of people. I mean, being a student, you know, I just turned 18 after I got into the military. You know, I'd signed my will at 18.
Oh my goodness.
My 18th birthday was signing my will and assigning the $30 my bank account to my mother. But
Wow.
so yeah, 4 kids unfortunately committed suicide in that time. And then my captain, who was 27, she was going to be the first woman in the Special Forces, unfortunately died as well.
Oh my
She
goodness.
passed away in her sleep. And so there I was standing with, you know, by the time it was 5 months into the military, I hadn't even done active duty yet. I hadn't finished my training yet. I was fresh as fresh gets into the military. I didn't even have a rank technically. And I had 5 people I know gone. And, you know, these were people I spent almost every hour of every day with were gone. And I was like, okay, something needs to change. And I wasn't excelling the best in university, which I think most people experience when they go from the high school to university, is that it's not what you expected. You know, you could be the best in high school and be awful at university. And that's sort of what happened to me. I really wasn't doing very well. And, you know, my physical scores and stuff were all right, but it was just, I think everything piling up. I was sort of like, I need to get out of here. Like, as much as I love the military and I love these people, I need to get out of this environment just because it was killing me. And even my parents, when they would call me, they could tell in the tone of my voice that I was sort of dying inside.
Wow.
And so I ended up requesting release from the military in December of 2015 and ended up leaving and coming home. And I was home by January of 2016. So I'd
Wow.
only spent about 8 months in the military and I was officially released.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was fun.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
Yeah, no, it's highly recommended. Please don't.
Please don't. Wow. What is it about it that's so stressful and makes you start to die on the inside?
It's a culmination of things for sure. The military college in general has a fairly distinct environment to it.
Okay.
As much as it's called a college, it's not very centralized on the education portion of things.
Okay.
So basically what happened was I was doing an engineering degree, and anyone who's done an engineering degree or has family or friends that have done it, they understand it's a fairly heavy course load.
Right.
So usually in universities, especially at places like Dalhousie, you have about 6 courses per semester on top of labs and other things. At the military college, they have a different view on that. They want you to be well-rounded as an officer if you're doing the officer program. And so that means that on top of doing engineering, I was also doing an arts degree. So I was doing about 10 courses per semester, plus labs and stuff. On top of, you had to be a part of a varsity team. So I was playing college volleyball at the time. You had to maintain your excellence in a physical aspect. So you had to go to the gym on top of everything else.
Oh my goodness.
Your eating times were definitely messed with in the aspect of how much time you had to eat, how much time you had for cleanliness, for your own hygiene, how much time you had outside of what they requested from you. And you also had the basic military stuff like room inspections, uniform inspections, and then you would have training exercises on the weekends as well, where you'd leave the college and go do training at some of their training facilities as well.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it was like 2 separate worlds that they had tried to mash into one and have work without talking to each other. So imagine having your parents divorce and then each having equal custody of you, but not talking to each other on when they were going to take you.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you were sort of all over the place, and I think that drove a lot of people. And even in normal universities, November is a bad year for people.
Right.
It's generally understood, and I think it's far more understood now that November can be a really bad year for bad month for people. You know, you've got exam seasons coming up. You've just finished your midterms. You know where you stand grade wise, but you can't back out anymore. You've passed the date for payments. You've passed the date for dropping classes. It's sort of make or break right after midterms. And so
Okay.
people start stressing. They start falling back into bad habits. It's just generally what's understood that happens. And so I think the military college pushes that to another level. And these kids, you know, a lot of the times military is the last choice for some people. And with these kids, I say kids, they were adults. But with these 4 men, I didn't know their lives previous to them joining the military, so I can't say sort of what stemmed all of it. But for someone whose last choice might have been the military and who might have been failing like me and who might have felt like, you know, this is my only option, it might have pushed them to the brink of doing something like that. And I think it sort of digs a grave for some people. You know, it's make or break for them. Unfortunately enough for me, my family was like, no, come home, like do something you want to do. You know, you've got so much time, like you don't have to stick it out there. And I was definitely fortunate for that. And I felt bad. Like I felt bad for my grandfather. I felt bad for my recently passed grandmother. You know, I felt like I had been defeated and I'd never felt that before. And so that was really tough on me, especially coming back and having to find a job again. And I'd quit my job that I'd worked at for, you know, 3.5 years at that point. And so I was like, yeah, I felt really defeated for sure. So I can't even imagine how they felt.
Wow.
I'm putting my hand in my coffee.
So how did you when did you first you're a sarcastic hilarious
I'm an asshole is an easy way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. We can be blunt.
Okay. So when did that develop? Have you always been like this? Have you always been No. Have you always been like this or
I don't know. And
did,
my brother's very sarcastic.
okay.
I don't think people took it as well from him because he had a more serious tone to things.
Okay.
And he definitely had sort of a way of talking to people that I don't think they caught on to it as much.
Okay.
I'm very deliberate in the sense because I laugh at all of my own jokes. So I might be an asshole, and then I laugh at myself, and people are like, "Oh, he's kidding." But my brother didn't do that, so I think I might have picked up a lot of it from him.
Okay.
And I definitely had some dark times,
Mm-hmm.
and I think with a lot, I don't want to call myself a comedian in any aspect of the word, but I think a lot of people that have dealt with significant sort of life altering events or big changes, or they're dealing with some internal issues, a lot of people will combat it with humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that was the easiest way to get over stuff like that, was just a joke about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like some people dig their own graves in that sense. There's a lot of times where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what the next step was going to be. I didn't have a job. I'm only 18, but I didn't have a job. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life.
And there's like a lot of pressure put on you
Oh
at
yeah.
18 to have it all figured out.
I mean, at 17, people want you to make a decision for what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Right.
Like getting into a career and getting an education and dropping $40,000 on an education, which is like cheap compared to the US. So you're expected to do all of this before you can legally drink. You can't even vote, and you're expected to make these decisions. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
so I found it was really easy just to combat it with humor, and I think I've sort of kept that throughout, of just making fun of myself mostly, but just sort of going at life with a little bit of humor and everything, just because it makes everything so much easier.
Right.
It doesn't hide any issues I might have. It sort of brings a lot of them to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, yeah, it doesn't change what's happening in my own life, but it definitely makes my day to day a whole lot easier. And I think that's just who I've become to a lot of people, is that humorist. I'm not afraid to take jabs at myself because I know I'm not perfect. I'm far from it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes life a lot easier just to have that humor, and I've just sort of developed that personality of enjoying the laughter from other people. Like, I love to make other people laugh. That makes me the happiest, is seeing other people laugh, especially if it's at my own expense. Like, I think that's great.
It's your own expense. So, and so what I'm gathering is that you did develop a lot of your sense of humor. You did have it on its way before going through the rough time that you had with the military, but it sounds to me like it definitely got sharper as you went through that experience. Is that
100%.
right? Yeah.
And I mean, I think there was other aspects that definitely help with it. Like, I've worked in retail for 6 years. And if you work in retail for any amount of time, you have to learn to suppress a lot of stuff. And
Okay.
so I definitely developed some of it there. And working in service for 3 years, like working with people that have nothing better to do than complain. You sort of have to learn to laugh about things. And definitely with the experiences I've had, like, sometimes you get into a position where nothing will make you laugh. Like, absolutely nothing. You just become dull to everything. And it's like there's this veil. Like, there's nothing that can get through it. It's the iron curtain of yourself.
Ooh.
And it's really hard to sort of get past that if you can't sort of see what's coming. You know what I mean? Like, you sort of start to shut down, and you're like, I don't care anymore. I don't care what people say. I don't care what people do. I don't care what I do. You get stuck in this trance of living in your own head. And I found the easiest way to get around that was just to laugh. Like, find people that make me laugh. Find things that make me laugh. Like, find reasons to make other people laugh, because I'm going to laugh my own stupid jokes either way. But seeing other people laugh, I can see that emotion. I can feel that emotion. I mean, laughter is contagious too. If you can get other people laughing, then you'll start laughing.
That's so true.
Yeah, so I think it definitely sharpened after the military. I mean, we're all going through a rough patch when we're in the military. And I think anybody who's done basic training knows that the only way you'll get through it is to make friends and laugh with them. Because if you take everything seriously in the military, that's what they're hoping for, and they're going to break you. They're going to break you so much. If you can just learn to go with the punches and laugh about it and say yes, you'll make it so much further. And I watched people fail because of that. They took everything so seriously. And I think that's what broke them, is that they felt like they were failing people all the time. And the thing about the military, especially basic training, is you are failing all the time. Like that's what they're hoping for. Because if you're succeeding at everything, you're never going to learn. So they want you to fail. And if you can accept that and you can laugh about it and you can learn from it, then you're doing a whole lot better. And so I think that's definitely where it developed for sure. And then, what succeeded that as well was definitely a part of it.
What succeeded that?
Well, just, I have definitely been in some dark places in my life. Like I can't say I'm, a happy person, quotation marks there, air quotes, by any means. Like I think, I'm definitely better now than I ever have been, for sure. I mean, I've got 2 jobs. I'm going to school. I've got a girlfriend. I surrounded myself with people that, I can respect and I can love to be around because they're just amazing people. You know what I mean? Like I can find things in life that I enjoy now. And I think that's sort of where I draw the line between the good times and the bad times. Because there's definitely a time after that stint where I just couldn't find joy in anything. Like I found myself just moseying around. I had a job, and I still have that job, but I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the people. I didn't enjoy the job. I didn't enjoy going to work. I didn't enjoy going home. I didn't enjoy anything. And like, I think once I started to see past all of that, and not that it was just like it came and went, but if you've ever dealt with mental illness and anything to do with depression or anxiety or anything, you sort of realize like what I mean, in the sense that you've got the good times, you got the bad times. And I think I went through a stint of having good times and being surrounded by people that just made me feel better. That, that's not all life was meant to be. I wasn't meant to be angry at the world all the time. And I think that's part of where the humor came from as well. Like I was an angry person. I've definitely had anger issues. I think I still have some issues. I get frustrated really easily, and I find things stress me out to no extent. But I think that's some of where the humor came from. I just turned that anger into joking about it, into making fun of myself. Because nobody else is going to make fun of you to your face. But if you make fun of yourself, like it sort of takes it from a different aspect. And I found that there was a lot of things about myself that I could make fun of.
You're very fortunate that you have so many things about yourself to make fun of.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, I look ridiculous. Like I'm 6'7" and 160 pounds. Like even that alone is something funny. So, yeah. And I think that's definitely part of it, is the humor came from sort of the shittiness that was before. You know what I mean? Like you don't develop a sense of humor, or an ability to joke about yourself if you've got nothing to joke about. You know what I mean? Like a lot of comedians come from a dark past because they made it through it and they're willing to joke about it. People love dark humor.
Yes.
That's what people thrive for. And they want to hear how shitty your life is and how shitty your life was. But if you're telling them seriously, they're not going to laugh about it. They're going to be pretty stunned. But if you can learn to joke about it, like anybody will listen to you.
Ooh, that is a very interesting point of view. I actually haven't thought of it that way, but that makes sense.
Well, I mean, if you talk to somebody, look at the number of people that will listen if you're having trouble.
Right.
You can narrow your friend group pretty quickly if you consider the people that you would talk to about your mental issues.
Right, yeah.
Like, I didn't talk to anybody about it, and this is one of the first times that I have talked to anybody about it.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. Like, the one person that knows about it is my girlfriend. I've never told my parents.
No.
I think they noticed in the tone of voice that I had when I was in the military that something was off. But I've never told them that I dealt with depression and that I deal with anxiety or that I still deal with anxiety. It's not something that goes away.
No.
It's you deal with it all the time, and there's times that it's good and there's times that it's bad, and there's some days you want to stay inside and some days you'd rather run outside and jump in puddles. You know what I mean? Like, and I just found a way to joke about it. Like, and if you're talking to somebody seriously about your issues, a lot of people won't want to listen. But if you can find a way to joke about it, you've got a whole audience. And I found talking about it just made it so much easier. People might not catch on to the fact that you're being serious, but like, yeah, I've got issues, but hey, you're all laughing. You know, it's not that big of an issue as I thought it was. You know, we all deal with days like that, and you know, some people have it definitely worse than others.
Mhm.
But there's definitely been points in my life where I was like, okay, like I need to find something, like, or else this is just gonna spiral, and it's just gonna get worse. And uh, I think that's what makes the best humor, like
Hmm.
having that dark body inside you that sort of peeks into the light every once in a while. Like, hey, you know, I'm here. Can't forget about me, but
Maybe make a couple jokes at my expense.
yeah, you joke about it enough, and you can suppress it for a while. It'll never go away, but you can knock it out a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. So then what else, like, so you use your humor to help deal with some of your anxiety and depression.
Oh, yeah.
And what else do you do? Do you have anything else?
To deal with it?
Yeah.
No, I'm horrible. It's awful. I wish
Okay.
I wish I was better at dealing with it. And I've had people recommend I go and talk to therapists, and I think talking to somebody is definitely a good idea for a lot of people.
Mhm.
I think they need to be able to vent to people, especially people that aren't gonna. I'm not gonna say that they aren't gonna develop a sense of humor for it, but people that don't want to be as disgraceful about it, I guess, as I do.
Yeah.
I think talking to somebody is a great idea, and just being able to express yourself and sort of let somebody know that you're
Mhm.
not doing great
Mhm.
is a good thing. And I think therapists do a wonderful job of being great listeners. You know, that's what they're paid for.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but I'm not that kind of person. I'm such a bad person. Like, I am. I don't know how to put it, but I could never go and talk to somebody about that. Like, even talking to my girlfriend about it, I waited a long time before I told her about it.
Yeah.
Just because, one, I've had issues in the past with telling people about it. There's one other person that I told about it, and I regretted doing that.
Okay.
And I'm ignorant. Like, I'm so ignorant, it doesn't make any sense. So I just, people would tell me, you know, go talk to somebody. It doesn't matter. They don't know you. You don't know them. You're
Mhm.
just talking to somebody. I'm like, well, then why don't I just talk to the wall? Because it's going to do the same thing for me. You know, I don't care about it. And I always had that mindset about it. And then finally I was like, you know what? Like, I just needed to tell somebody.
Mhm.
But I didn't want to just open up and say, you know, walk up to somebody, hey, I'm really depressed. Like, it's unbelievable how much I hate myself.
Right.
And so I just did it through humor. You know, I still hate myself, but I can laugh about it. And I think that's, you know, it might not be the best aspect to go about it. And I think it's definitely a veil that hides a lot of the pain that I've felt, but it's given me the opportunity to sort of tell a whole bunch of people that I hate myself without them actually thinking I hate myself. So it's good. It works.
It's good. It works.
Yeah.
It's a great way to suppress the pain.
Yeah. It's like a Band-Aid.
to not truly acknowledge that there's a problem, but it's hilarious. And
yes.
it totally does the trick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not acknowledging the problem at all. But
Okay.
I find, like, even over the past year,
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to meet some wonderful people and really connect with some people on a different level than I felt like I have before. And it sort of gave me the opportunity to open up to them in a humorous sense. Like, hey, you know, I'm not normal by any sense of the word, but that's not going to hold me back from being your friend. So you're going to like it. And that's how it's going to be. Because I'm going to make you laugh, and it might be at my own expense, but now we're both laughing, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been fun.
Sounds like good times.
Yeah, sometimes.
So, Kate, this do you feel like expanding on your experience with the other person, that where you opened up and it didn't go well and you wished you hadn't?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
All
we
right.
can do that. I won't go into too many details about it, just in case they do hear it, which I doubt. But
Right. Yeah.
basically the gist of it was, like, I had known somebody for a long time, a quarter of what would have been my life at that point. So about 5-6 years I'd known this person.
Yeah.
And I guess something I should explain first is I've always been a shoulder to cry on for people, no matter who it was. Like, I was always there just to be an ear,
Mhm.
because I thought about how I felt, and I was like, I wouldn't want to feel like that because I don't like it. So if other people feel like that, I'll listen. I'll be that person for them.
Okay.
Even if that means they won't do it for me, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I was fine with that.
Yeah.
And so I had always been a shoulder to cry on for this person. And eventually, one thing led to another, and I'd known them for a long time, and they ended up hanging out a little bit more than we did before, and things started moving in a certain direction, I guess. I was misled, apparently, but
Okay.
I ended up opening up to this person at one point and just saying, like, hey, listen, you're not alone. You know, we both deal with the same issues. They might not be the same in where they stem from, but don't think that you're the only person that feels like that, because I feel like that. And I don't want you to feel alone about that.
Yeah.
You know, I want you to understand that there's somebody else in this boat with you.
Hmm.
And so I sort of went into depth. And it's one of the only people, you know, outside of my girlfriend, that's seen me cry.
Hmm.
You know, I have tried my very best to not cry in front of other people. I don't know what it is about me, but I just never felt comfortable crying in front of other people. You know, even
Okay.
at my grandmother's funeral, I was trying to hold back tears just because I didn't want other people to see me cry, which doesn't make any sense. You know, I'm at a funeral for my grandmother, somebody I'd known for my entire life that I loved dearly, and I was trying not to cry.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this one girl now, yeah,
Okay.
had seen me cry, and I'd expressed, you know, my feelings and how I felt, and told this person, you know, I felt like she did, and I felt bad, and I hated myself, and you know, I'd considered my options a few times, and I just wanted her to know that she wasn't alone.
Mhm.
And eventually things went really far south, and we ended up not talking anymore, and I just sort of felt defeated, because I was like, you know what, like, after everything that's gone through this, you can just walk away from that.
Hmm.
And I just didn't understand that. I was like, there was a part of me that didn't understand how becoming so vulnerable for somebody, and to somebody, and then having them walk out of your life was easy.
Hmm.
And I felt sort of disheartened, and that put up a shield for me. And I didn't want to be vulnerable for anybody ever.
Right.
I considered that sort of the one and only straw, I guess, that, you know, opening up to somebody and being vulnerable was a bad thing. And it sort of turned me away from it. And there was a while there where I wasn't vulnerable with anybody. You know, I didn't let anybody in, even on daily stuff, like how I was feeling that day, what I was going through. Nobody knew. And I kept it from my family and my friends and everybody. And I was going through a really bad time then, and I just didn't want anybody to know. So I would go to work, and I'd go home, and I'd sleep, and I'd go to work, and I'd go home, and I'd sleep, and that's just the cycle I fell into.
Hmm.
Now, fortunately, since I've met my girlfriend, I mean, she knows who I am. I hope.
Fingers crossed.
Serial killer in disguise. Yeah, no, my name's not Ted Bundy. It's okay.
Okay.
So
like,
yeah,
I am sitting in the closet with the wrong person. Anyway.
Yeah, what are the chances there's two serial killers in the same room? What?
Surprise!
So yeah, I mean, like, that was a big event for me, just in the sense that I lost trust for people in general, and I lost the ability to talk to people in a certain sense. And since I've met my girlfriend, I mean, she's amazing, and she's always there for me, no matter what. And she can tell if I'm having a bad day or a good day, and she's accepting no matter what. And I love her for that. She's the best. But before that, I hadn't told anybody. I mean, now she's seen me cry outside of a concert because I was too drunk. Like, I've stopped caring about that anymore. But there's definitely been times where, even with her, I've been like, especially at the start of the relationship, where I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to ruin my chances. And I thought that that's what it was.
Right, yeah.
I thought becoming vulnerable with somebody would ruin my chances with them, because I didn't want them to know that I dealt with depression. I didn't want them to know that I was broken as a person, is my thought process behind it. But what I think a lot of people don't understand is that that's not what it is. You're not broken. You know, you're certainly not alone. There's a ton of people that deal with these issues.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be the stigma behind opening up about it, because it hurts you so much. You know, it's not going to hurt the other person.
No.
And if that other person isn't willing to accept that, obviously they're not the right person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I found out with her. I mean, I opened up to her, and immediately, this had been 3 or 4 months at that point that we were dating, and she was incredible. She felt bad for me, and I was like, don't feel bad for me, but I just want you to know that side of me.
Yeah.
Because some days it's like a two-sided coin. Some days it's a good day, and some days it's a bad day, and it can change no matter what. It's not something that I control.
Mm-hmm.
But she understood that it's something that happens, and that it's something that I'm working on, and she wanted to help me work on it. And I think that's the best part about finding the right person, is that they're willing to do that for you.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's fun.
That's yeah.
I knew this was going to get personal, but okay.
It happened.
It happened faster than I thought.
I'm happy that it happened.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm unhappy about it happening. I've come to a point in my life where I'm okay with talking about who I am. Like I could care less what people think of me in general. My motto about most of my life is that people can go fuck themselves, and I'm totally okay with that.
Oh, you're okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool. So then, what made you? So you have arrived then at not caring about what other people think about your depression.
About my depression, yes.
Okay.
I'm definitely still somebody who, and I guess that's where the humor comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
I tell a lot of people that I don't care, and that I am not bothered by what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, of course I am. I'm somebody who looks at Instagram and who worries about how many people follow me and who's liking my pictures and who's looking at my stories. And
Right.
on Snapchat, I'm looking to see who's watching. I always want to know who's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go around all day and I'll tell people, don't pay attention to that. It's useless. I'll try and be the voice of reason for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because I understand what it does to me.
Right.
I understand that it's something that I'm addicted to. I'm always worrying about what people think about me. If I'm going out at night, I'm going to get dressed up. I'm going to put on my best look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I care about what people think of me. And it's something that I've adopted. And I don't think it's maybe a bad thing, because it's definitely given me a better work ethic, because I worry about my performance. I worry about what people think about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry about, what certain things I do are going to make people think. So, I've worked in retail at 2 locations and in service at 1 location, and now in the restaurant industry, and I've never called in sick.
What?
Because I'm so worried about it. And I'm so nervous that if I were to call in sick, that people would change their opinion of me. So it's just been this constant struggle of, if somebody asks me to work, I won't turn it down, because I want them to think that I'm a good employee. Or if somebody, calls in sick and they need somebody to come in, I'll come in. It's not the way to be as a person. You shouldn't bend over that far for everybody. And
Right.
I think it's definitely pushed me to some limits sometimes. Like I've burnt out. I've pushed myself too far. I have tried to give too much myself to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've started to realize a little bit more, like, I need to keep some of that time for myself. Even that, if that just means, sitting at home and listening to music or being lazy. Like, I just need some time to myself to sort of take it all in, relax for a second, and then go back at it. If
Yeah.
I have that time myself, then I'm fine.
Yeah. How often would you say you need that time to yourself?
I found out it's not as often as you'd think.
Okay.
I definitely work more than most people working part-time should, I guess. It's hard to explain. Between my 2 jobs per week, I would say I'm working like probably close to 40 hours a week
Okay.
on top of going to school.
Okay.
And I've over the past 3 years of being in university and doing the whole 2-job thing, I've definitely pushed my body to the point of exhaustion and sort of figured out where that was and realized that I've got a certain point that I can get to, and then I have to stop. But but it's a lot further than I thought I could go.
Okay.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, is like, at least personally, I can, push my body to a certain extent, especially because of my age. Like, I can go without sleep for a little while, and and people think I'm crazy for it. And like, I'll sleep 3 hours and then I'll go work 18. And
Oh.
it's definitely not something I would recommend, but it's what I try to do. I'm trying to show to people that, I'm at peak performance all the time. And I think that's part of the trouble, but also part of what's gotten me to where I am now. I'm a 21-year-old that's had 6 jobs already, a career lined up, been to 2 different universities.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm 21.
And you're 21. Yeah, that's impressive.
But I also totally respect people that want to take a different approach to that, because I've wasted away, 6 years of my life working, and I'm only 21. You know what I mean? There's definitely a balance to be found in between there. You definitely have to take time for yourself, and you definitely have to figure out, how much time you need to yourself and how much time you want to yourself, because working for somebody else for your entire life can be extremely draining. And you need to find that balance of enjoying the time that you have. And that's something I noticed pretty quickly after having a girlfriend. Like, this is my first girlfriend, and I didn't understand the concept of making time. I was always super independent, and I still want to be very independent, and that's one of the reasons that I work so much. But I had to realize, I'm not alone anymore. I can't just keep all my time to me working and going to school and doing my own thing. I have to make time for this other person. And that was a huge struggle for me. And it's something I felt horrible about, because for the first, 2-3 months of the relationship, I was still working ridiculous hours and not making any time, and sort of giving excuses as to why I wasn't around. And then I realized, like, listen, like, I have to change what I'm doing, not just because I feel bad, but because I want to be a part of this relationship too.
Right.
So it was definitely a big stepping stone to get over and realize that I'm not alone anymore. But I think it's definitely helped, because I've made more time for myself, and I've made more time for her, and I've just had more time outside of being somebody else's pawn. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing this all for somebody else anymore. It's for me, and it's for my relationship, and I can appreciate that time a lot more now than I did before.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Spencer,
Yes.
this is a question that I like to ask everybody.
Oh no.
Yep. What does it look to you to be mentally healthy?
I don't know. I haven't seen it before.
That was the quickest answer. I don't know. Okay.
That's definitely a tough one, because I think it's something that's tough. That's got a lot of depth to it. I think in life there's always going to be a certain balance of how much good and how much bad you have. I mean, people are going to complain about politics, and people are going to complain about criminals, and people are going to complain about anything they can complain about. But there has to be an understanding that there has to be a certain amount of evil to be able to understand what good is. Because if you don't have that contrast, then you don't know what it looks like. Good becomes non-existent if you don't have bad. And so I think that becomes a big pinnacle in talking about mental health. There's no way of curing mental health. It's not like smallpox. You can't just get rid of it. And people are always working for Band-Aids to cover what's happening, or ads to hide what's happening, or creating these veils to put people behind when they're talking about mental illness. And I think talking about it has become the biggest aspect in revealing sort of what it is. There's no way of seeing somebody and knowing what's going on in their head. Those people don't even know what's going on in their own head. There's no way of understanding that. But I think good mental health is finding that balance. It's understanding personally, what you should expect.
Mm-hmm.
I know some days I'm going to have a bad day, and I know some days I'm going to have a good day, and I try and make the best of the bad days and even more of the good days. It's finding ways to work around it, to make the best of it, to work towards something better, to work towards having less bad days. But it's not trying to exonerate it or exterminate it. It's working with myself in how I can feel better generally, even with those bad days. I know it's not going to go away. I know I'm going to have it, and I'm going to have anxiety, and I'm going to have dark days where I feel like a complete bag. But it's finding ways to not get stuck with that. It's finding ways to not turn it into an obstacle. I think people get stuck behind their mental illness, and it takes over, and that's when it really turns into a problem, is when people accept that it's going to happen and there's nothing they can do about it. I think when you start to realize that there's ways to work with it, and work, I want to say around it, but that's not what I mean. There's no way to work around it. You know that it's there. But definitely finding a personal understanding of it's not something that's going to stop you. You might feel like staying in bed, and you might feel like it's not worth getting up, or it's not worth taking the next step. But finding a good spot where you can still work with it would be good mental health for me. Finding the days that, even though it hurts and it's awful and I hate myself, finding the ability to still keep going is a good day. And then in the good days, just taking advantage of it, knowing that you feel better, and that you shouldn't be thinking about, the bad days when you've got good days. You've got the opportunity to experience, a whole new light. You don't have that veil hiding, the rest of the world to you. You don't have that darkness that's just sort of creeping and waiting for you. You can go out and experience it and not fear what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow you might have a bad day, but don't think about that. Like, experience with the time that you have, and worry about that when it comes. So I think that would be good mental health, at least from a personal point of view. And I mean, I feel like I should explain that I don't look at mental illness the same way that I think a lot of people do. I have bad days and I have good days, but I find they've motivated me to work more, to put in more time, and show to people that I'm not broken.
Yeah.
I've found it motivated me to show to people what you can do, even though you've got issues going on. And that was a personal thing for me, is when I started to experience it, I didn't want to be held back by it. And I didn't want it to tear me down. And I had days where I felt like there was no reason in getting out of bed or in doing anything, really. Like, there had definitely been days where it was severe, and I was in a really dark place. And the only thing that kept me going was the fact that I had work to do. And I just got up and kept going and kept pushing through it. And I still have dark days, but I find putting in the time and doing the work and showing to people, I might have a mental illness, but I'm doing what I have to get through. To me, it felt like I was showing people, it doesn't matter. It's not what people think it is. It's not this end all thing. You can keep going. And was it the right approach? Maybe not. I don't think I dealt with it the way I should have. I don't think I accepted it the way I should have. I think I tried to suppress it a lot. But it was just a way for me to tell the people, you can do anything. It doesn't matter. So,
Yeah, it doesn't have to hold you back.
Yeah.
I like that. And I also like that you said that, you want to show that you're not broken, because I think that was pretty big for me. Like, I don't want people to look at me like I'm broken. I'm not broken. Or maybe you could also say we're all broken. Like,
Oh, yeah.
This isn't a unique thing. Like, we're all of us are broken. So let's.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that in the sense that I don't like the stigma behind mental illness and in the fact that people think that you're broken, or in the fact that people think that you're pieces that can be put back together. You know, it's if you've ever broken a glass, you know that there's no way you're going to put that back together. You can, but it's not going to go back looking the same that it did before. And I think
true.
I think that's the big thing, is people just assume that there's a way to cure it, and you can take medication and you can go to a therapist, and you know it worked for other people, so it should work for you. That's not how mental illness works. It's not like a cancer that we found how it works, and or like the flu. It's not like we've predicted how it works and we can see how it works and we can create a cure for it and we can guess what it's going to look like in certain people. It's really, really vague. And for some people it's going to work one way, and for some people it's going to work another. And it's not a matter of assuming, you know, oh well, this person's got mental issues, so let's, you know, forget about that and keep going. It's you know, working with that person to figure out sort of where they are, not how to fix it or what they need to you know, feel normal, but working with them in feeling like themselves again. I feel like when you are down from mental, you don't even feel like yourself. You feel dead inside. You feel like nothing. And it's just it's really difficult when people assume that it's one common thing, because it's not what it is.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that.
You shared some really good insights. Thank you.
I feel like I rambled a lot.
You did, but it was good rambling.
I get into a train of thought, and this is something I have to tell people. I like to talk, and that's definitely been the biggest thing for me, especially with all of this, is just talking, just letting it all out, and even if it's in a humorous or dark or whatever sense it might be, I love to talk. So, thank you.
That made it perfect for this podcast.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how this was going to go, especially being in your closet.
I know. The sound quality in here, though, is just...
Oh, it's pristine. I sure do love this closet. Yeah, it was good though. I was so excited when you asked me to be on the podcast.
Yeah?
Because, you know, I'd heard a lot of the other stories that people had told, and I feel like I don't have that big backstory of whatever it might be. You know, it's not like I have this hidden past, or that I have a reason or anything, but I love the dark humor that I have, and it's super egocentric to say that, but I don't even know. I got really excited because I like to talk. I think that's the biggest thing. I just like to talk.
You just like to talk.
Yeah.
You're a good talker.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming out here and sitting in my closet and talking to me.
Anytime.
And sharing your story.
Anytime.
A part of your story, anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do this again.
I'm
sharing another part of your story.
Yeah, there's lots of parts.
There's lots of parts, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them better than others.
Okay, cool. I look forward to hearing more of them.
Sometime soon.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. I also forgot to mention I'm gonna do a little bit of promoting myself right now. You gave me a look. What?
I'm just waiting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So everybody, I spoke at PodCamp Halifax last week, and my husband got a really great video of it, and it's on YouTube. If you just search Optimistically Depressed, you'll find a video of me talking at PodCamp, and I'd be really happy if all of you were to head over and have a watch/listen. And also, I figure I should probably start mentioning this too. I have an Instagram account. You can find me at what is it?
Optically depressed?
Optimistically depressed.
Optimistically depressed?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Optimistically depressed. You can find me at Optimistically Depressed.
What's an optically depressed?
It's a new thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's trendy right now.
Gotcha.
It's a new kind of depression that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
In line with freight depression.
In line with, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And Spencer, do you want to share your handle too, dude? Dude.
The handle I use for my amateur nude photography is at SDM_images. It's mostly self-portraits.
All right, cool. I'm gonna head on over there.
Yeah. Search up amateur nude portraits and optimistically depressed. I hope nobody finds my search history. They might be concerned.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little concerned already.
I would be. You're sitting in a closet with me.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That's enough.
I think so.
All right. Everyone, thank you so much for listening, and have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I messed that up. I have a way that I've said it in the past. I've forgotten now. Anyway, but I hope you're having a good whatever point of the day it is for you.
Yes. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.